We're back out here once again, and today we're talking about some simple things that I'm doing to not just get more bites during the summer, but better quality bites. Stick around, you don't want to miss this one. There we go, I got him. That's not a bad one, kids. And here is this video's featured comment. Congratulations! If you would like to have a chance to have your comment featured in an upcoming video, all you've got to do is leave a comment. And now, on with the video. Welcome back to Lowbrow Fishing. And over the past couple of videos, I've been talking about how I'm actually avoiding chasing those busting bass. I know it seems counterproductive. It seems counterintuitive. You get out to the lake, you're there for a few minutes. It doesn't matter if you're on the bank, it doesn't matter if you're out in the boat. You see those bass busting everywhere. And it's very tempting. You know, you want to fire right in there. You want to be in the middle of that with a spook, with a frog, with a buzzbait, with anything, some sort of topwater that will get you in there and get those bites. But right now, those bass are not cooperating so much. This time of year is when those bass are really focused on those small, tiny fries. The shad, the shiner, the bluegill, what have you, that's what those bass are focused on. And it can be very hard to break them out of that mode. Now, if I see bass busting within half a cast length, 3/4 of a cast length away, I will fire in there, but I'm not using topwater to do it. I'm using something like this, KVD 200 jerkbait, and this thing right here, this is what I'm catching my fish on. It's a great tiny little jerkbait, and you can see how beat up and eat up this thing is. It's caught me so many nice fish, and it's caught me some of the nicer fish that I've had this year. Some of the nicer fish I've caught on that little bait, and it's worked out really well. I see those bass busting. I have the ability to cast right where I'm at. I'm not chasing them. I fire that in there, and a lot of times I can get some really quality bites doing it. Another way that I'm doing it is, well, with this, a soft plastic jerkbait. And you notice I'm not using topwater. I'm using subsurface, things that are just below that water surface. You know, a few inches, a couple of feet. That's where I'm working most of the time. And as this glides down, mimicking an injured bait fish or a dying bait fish, this gets gulped up by those bass looking for an easy meal. Another thing that I'm doing is I'm paring that down. I'm going with a junior fluke, something that's smaller, something that even more resembles what those bass are feeding on. The trick is mimic what those bass are feeding on, but make your bait stand out. Make your offering more appealing. But that doesn't mean that we can't use moving baits. See, if I'm not chasing bass, I'm going with how those bass are going to be set up. I put blinders on, I see the busting bass, I put the blinders on, and I go to work how I know those bass are going to be set up this time of year. A lot of times that has to do with current seams. And I'll be honest, it doesn't always have to be a cloudy day with a bunch of wind. Bluebird skies with just a little bit of wind, and I can work some really good moving baits. And that's something like this KVD 2.5 square bill. Now, obviously, this is the one that doesn't have the rattles in it. I like a quiet presentation. Well, it's technically not really quiet because whenever under the water, all that shaking, it will rattle thanks to all the hardware. But the rattles are from the hardware and not from the inside rattle. So it's actually a little bit stealthier, okay? It's actually a little bit less brazen. And I'm getting more bites because, well, my fishery is very, very pressured. But that's a good starting place. I'm using something like that, working it along those places where I know those bass are going to be hiding. I know those bass are going to be looking for shade, looking for current seams, looking for places to just hang out and catch an easy meal. Another thing that I'm doing is something like this. This is just a lipless crankbait. This is a Cotton Cordell Super Spot. And this guy right here, this is the one, if you've never watched one of my channels, if you've never watched one of my videos, you see I drill a hole in the bottom of these. I've modified this one. I drill a hole in these and I fill it full of super glue and baking soda, which greatly reduces the knock from those rattles. It makes it a lot less loud under the water, but it still has that good shimmy. It still has that good way that it works. And I'm able to get a lot of really nice bites using that. we've pared it down just a little bit. We've gone from the square bill now to a lipless crank, and I'm working it a little bit more delicately. So there is a pattern that I'm doing here, right? Do you see what I'm doing? I'm trying to be as subtle as I can, and I'm trying to match what those bass are normally feeding on. And that all culminates in this. This is a Little Bandit 200, a little billed crankbait. And this is what I dialed everything into. This was where I ended up whenever I was last time out on the lake. So what about this little bait that makes it so special? Well, you can see it's a small presentation. It's got that small lip on it. It causes it to dive to about 8 feet, 9 feet, right in that area, so I can get it down to depth pretty good. Now, it's not especially loud, you know. It's got a little bit of a rattle to it, but not much. It's got hardly any rattle to it at all. And that, I feel like we just talked about, helps me out quite a bit. I tied this on the last time I was out on the water, and within a few casts, well, I caught a really, really nice fish. We've got this little Bandit. I believe this is a 200. Little Bandit crankbait. I believe that's a 200. A little smaller. It casts pretty good. I just kind of want to have a little smaller presentation. There we go, I got him. That's not a bad one, kids. On the Little Bandit lipless, come on. Oh, I barely got you, but you are here. Ooh, I barely got you. Nope. You son of a gun. Nope. Get out of there. Get on out of there. Leave you to the side for a second. 2-pound bass. Nice, gorgeous, beautiful bass on that Little Bandit lipless or Little Bandit 200 crankbait. Sometimes it really pays. I mean, you're going after those bait balls. You're chasing after those bait balls. This is what you want. All right, brother. We appreciate it. We appreciate it. We appreciate it. You have yourself a good one. And there he went. All right. So that was the key to putting everything together. I paired everything up. I followed what those bass were after. I'm looking for a shad type of color. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be the same color that I used. I just used that color because I felt like that's what those bass were keen on in my fishery. Little bass, little sunfish, they all are right now about that color. And I like that black back because we've got some murky water, as I've said, and it kind of stands out just a little bit, especially if those bass are seeing it from above, which a lot of times, especially right now, they're looking down into the vegetation. Doesn't take me long. I tied it on and I was catching nice fish with it. That turned out to be the key. So basically, what it all boils down to is I'm trying to be subtle. I'm trying to mimic what those bass are going after, but I'm trying to do it in a very delicate way. I'm using presentations that are quiet. I'm using presentations that don't make a whole lot of noise. And I'm going smaller. I don't necessarily want a huge glide bait right now. I don't want to use a great big Magnum old monster or a man's jelly worm or something like that. That's not to say that something like that won't catch fish. You might catch a couple of fish like that. But when I'm out on the water, I'm trying to maximize my bite chances. Sure, it'd be great to land one 10-pounder or a 12-pounder or something like that. But first and foremost, I want to establish that pattern. I want to get out there and I want to establish what I can get bites on first and foremost, and then work that pattern, dial that pattern in to generate some better strikes. And a lot of times, believe it or not, that means going smaller. So sometimes you don't want to go super big. Sometimes those bass don't want something super big because they're not going after that right now. They are going after those tiny little fries. I'm replicating that, and all of the bass, it's not just the little bass, it's not just the big bass, all the bass are seeing that as an easy meal. So basically, sometimes you may have to whittle through the dinks, but whenever you dial your presentation in and you figure out what those big girls are really after, and like I said, for me, it's being subtle. It's being quiet. It's sometimes paring that presentation down and going with something smaller, something that doesn't make a lot of racket, something that doesn't, it's not like a boat motor coming through the water at them. It's not like a loud jackhammer coming through the water at them. It's very subtle, and it can be, most of the time, very appealing. I get a lot of nice bites doing that, and I'm betting you can do the same thing. So there you have it. The next time you're out on the water, keep those blinders on. Tune out all the noise that's going on around you and focus on dialing in your presentation to what those bass are actually after. Using that method, you're going to find that even when it's hot, bass fishing in the summer can be really rewarding. Thanks for watching Lowbrow Fishing. We'll catch you in the next one.